Hello, everyone. This is Rolo, the Puerto Rican Pistolero, and I'm coming to you live from the Puerto Rican Pistolero studios here in beautiful Miami, Florida. Happy Easter, everyone. God bless you all on this wonderful Sunday, on this day of the Lord's resurrection, or of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the Son of our Lord. Greg the Goblin with the $50 to start the show. Jeez Louise, Greg. This man is out of control. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you. We are live on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick, as has become the new normal. So shout out to my Rumblers and my subscribers on Kick. I see we've got 5 or 6 people watching on those platforms as well. So I appreciate you all. Today's episode is going to be, as you guys know, I've gone through a lot in the last few months. I've gone through, kind of a revival in my faith. And so today is a very special day for me. I don't know if I want to start the show going there or if I'll end the show there. So, because it's going to get pretty heavy and pretty deep. So I think I will find the way to insert all of that the way that I have. But it's been something that's been on my mind and something that I want to talk about. So things may be a little bit, flipped around the order that I originally wanted to do the show. Aaron Fever, how's it going? I see Warsaw Patriot, Willie D. Jones. Willie D, you said you changed your name. What was your name before? Bong Donkey's here. Obviously, Greg the Goblin. JM the Elite Fan. Apollo's here. Comic Misconceptions was the first, as is usual lately. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I really do appreciate all of you. Yeah, I think I want to start the show today talking about, I'm going to start with guns today. I'm going to go in a little bit of a reverse order here than I normally have done lately, but I think it'll work out for the best this way. Really, the biggest gun news this week, it's been kind of a weird news week. I see some people in the chat want me to talk about or asking if I'm going to talk about different topics. I think it's kind of a slow news week. I'm not one to talk about basically gossip within the conservative sphere. So I'm not going to talk about what's going on with Crowder or what's going on with Candace and Ben Shapiro. I honestly don't care. I really don't care about that kind of stuff. The infighting in the Republican Party usually, or in the conservative space, bothers me. I think it just kind of reveals who's a grifter and who isn't, and who's been consistent. So I just don't really care at this point what's going on there. If you want my opinion on everything, I think the Daily Wire has done good work. Candace, I've never really liked Candace. I don't know what it is about her. I've seen her from the start. I've watched her for years, and there's just something about her that's bothered me. There are other conservatives I prefer doing commentary instead of her. But, I didn't think that she was a good fit for the Daily Wire anyway. She should just be independent and do her thing. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that. The Crowder stuff is a mess. That's just a bad situation. No matter how you go. Defer to Quarter Black on that one. Ad Victorium for $5 says, Happy Trans Day of Visibility. Jeremy can finally be seen. Well, we are going to talk about that. We are really going to talk about that. Maybe that's just where we should start. Maybe that's where we should start. Let's start the day. Let's start the day getting angry because this is the subject that has basically taken this weekend by storm. Now, I will put some disclaimers here because I am a fair and balanced individual, and that is, the Transgender Day of Visibility is not anything new. It's been on March 31st. Easter does not always fall on March 31st. They've done this a few times already. That doesn't matter, though, because guess what? This year it is on Easter. There was no acknowledgement of this. They don't care. The tributes that were made by different governors, Governor Hochul in New York, with lighting up all the buildings in major landmarks in New York State and New York City in the transgender colors, is a slap in the face to Christians everywhere. Let's read this real quick. the entire statement so that you guys can vomit, and then we can kind of discuss what this day really is about. So, on Transgender Day of Visibility, we honor the extraordinary courage and contributions of transgender Americans and reaffirm our nation's commitment to forming a more perfect union where all people are created equal and treated equally throughout their lives. I'm proud that my administration has stood for justice from the start, working to ensure that the LGBTQI+ community can live openly in safety with dignity and respect. I'm proud to have appointed transgender leaders to my administration and to have them ended the ban on transgender Americans serving openly in our military. I'm proud to have signed historic executive orders that strengthen civil rights protections in housing, employment, healthcare, education, the justice system, and more. I'm proud to have signed the Respect for Marriage Act into law, ensuring that every American can marry the person they love. Transgender Americans are part of the fabric of our nation. Whether serving their communities or in the military, raising families or running businesses, they help America thrive. They deserve and are entitled to the same rights and freedoms as every other American, including the most fundamental freedom to be their true selves. But extremists are proposing hundreds of hateful laws that target and terrify transgender kids, there's no such thing, and their families, silencing teachers, banning books, and even threatening parents, doctors, and nurses with prison for helping parents get care for their children. This bill attacks our most basic American values. Yes, I'm reading this in a monotone voice on purpose. I have no respect for this statement or this president. The freedom to be yourself, the freedom to make your own healthcare decisions, and even the right to raise your own child. It is no surprise that the bullying and discrimination that transgender Americans face is worsening our nation's mental health crisis. I can't even. Leading half of transgender youth to consider suicide in the past year. At the same time, an epidemic of violence against transgender women and girls, especially women and girls of color, continues to take too many lives. Let me be clear, all of these attacks are un-American and must end. No one should have to be brave just to be themselves. At the same time, my administration is working to stop the bullying and harassment of transgender children and their families. The Department of Justice has taken action to push back against extreme and un-American state laws targeting transgender youth and their families, and the Department of Justice is partnering with law enforcement and community groups to combat hate and violence. My administration is also providing dedicated emergency mental health support through our nationwide suicide and crisis lifeline. Any LGBTQI+ young person in need can call 988 and press 3 to speak to a counselor trained to support them and to continue their brainwashing further. We are making public services more accessible for transgender Americans, including more inclusive passports and easier access to Social Security benefits. There is much more to do. I continue to call on the Congress to pass the Equality Act to codify civil rights protections for all LGBTQI+ Americans. Today, we send a message to all transgendered Americans. You are loved, you are heard, you are understood, you belong, you're America, and my entire administration will have your back. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024 as Transgender Day of Visibility. I call upon all Americans to join us in lifting up their lives, up the lives and voices of transgender people throughout our nation, and to work towards eliminating violence and discrimination based on gender identity. And witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 29th day of March in the year of our Lord, 2024, and of the independence of the United States, the 248th. Man, where do I even start with this one? So, yesterday I saw, this portion of this on the internet. That's what people were posting. So, all I saw was this, and I was like, there's no way. There's no freaking way that, there's no way. This is too, it falls too much into the stereotypes. It's too on the nose. This is like the stuff that we talk about all the time verbatim, that they are going to do, that they think that they are that this is the agenda. Sometimes they confirm it so much in the open that you just can't believe it. And you're like, this has to be a freaking meme. There is no way in heck that this is happening and that this is going on. And again, I don't care what anybody says. We have a split here of like, well, they've done this before and it wasn't. I don't give a damn. You do not have to do this. You do not have to do this at all. Nobody's actually going to give a damn if you do anything about the Transgender Day of Remembrance. Trans people have no authority in this country. They are a bunch of mentally ill and broken people. That is what is going on. The way that we give these people any sort of time of day and anything that goes on. Look, if there are people that are seriously suffering from a mental health crisis, we need to give them the help that they need and not make fun of them, do all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is that the way that the government treats this issue and the way everything has been ever since gay marriage was enacted in this country has been a downward spiral towards the destruction of reality, the nuclear family, and of the society as we know it. And that is no exaggeration. That is exactly what we are facing here. We are facing the destruction of everything we know. I think Melanie Mack said it perfectly the other day when we were seeing a bunch of other stuff. I don't think it was this statement, but you just saw it, demonic. That is what we are dealing with. That is what we are dealing with. This is demonic. We are dealing with this every day. This is the battle. We have two major crises in this country that are not recoverable. We cannot move forward as a country until we resolve these issues one way or another. That is the border crisis and the transgender agenda that they have, especially with children in this country. There is a serious problem that we are dealing with here. And why are they doing this? What is the reasoning behind it? Is there a vast agenda, or is this just a bunch of stupid, evil people that are doing a bunch of chaotic crap to bring down the United States? Is it an organized plan? I don't know. Is it just a bunch of disparate groups and the agenda just happens to help in the destruction of the United States? I don't know. Is it the forces that we can't see that are affecting all of this, the spiritual battle for our souls and the hearts and minds of people throughout the world? That's probably what it is, because there's no logic behind it. This stuff is utterly evil. That is what we are dealing with here today. It is absolute evil, trying to destroy children, trying to destroy reality, confuse people on what a man is, on what a woman is. And this administration perpetuates this every single day. The border crisis, destruction of this country. That is what is going on. That is absolutely what is going on here. And it is ridiculous that there are people that cannot see this, that cannot see it, that accept it, or that are okay with it. It is a travesty that this is what we are going through. And the real travesty is that for years, people were not standing up to it. They were not standing up to it. We needed from the start to stand up, men and women, and say, no, you as an adult, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to give you your pronouns. I'm not going to pay for your surgeries. I'm not going to allow you to come into our schools and justify this stuff. If you want to go live out your fantasies and do all this stuff, you can go ahead and do that in the privacy of your room. I really don't give a crap. But you start bringing this out and imposing this will upon myself, my family, my children, you're going to have a serious fucking problem. And that's where we're at right now. This is a serious problem that has to be dealt with. How do we do it? I don't know. Well, I can tell you the first step. The first step is eliminating this stuff, the Transgender Day of Visibility. We don't acknowledge this stuff. Eliminating Pride Month. That's gone. Get rid of all this stuff. We don't need to acknowledge this. If you're gay, you're gay. Nobody gives a crap. Go live your life. Do your thing. I really don't care. I don't care about your lifestyle. I know a lot of good people that are gay. I've known them. Great people. Doesn't mean that I have to endorse what they do, how they live, or anything like that. I don't have to be mean to them either. Don't bother me. I'm not going to bother you. It's a pretty easy viewpoint, and the problem is that they can't live that way. They want to slap people in the face. They want to destroy the fabric of this country. They want to destroy our morality, and throw crap like this and to destroy the faith that the founders had in this country. You know, the separation of church and state doesn't mean what everybody thinks it does. The state doesn't choose a religion, but that doesn't mean that the government was not influenced by Christianity. This is a Christian country. That is the way it is. The morals of the founders were based on Judeo-Christian principles, and people need to remember this. So every time that you do something like this, it is a slap in the face of everything that the founders created here and what this country stands for. So, you know, it is shameful that we are dealing with this. Absolutely shameful. And I am happy that more and more people are no longer afraid to stand up against this. And I think that what happened with this entire debacle and this fiasco, you know, that's going to wake some people up. That really will. I know that there are a lot of people out there that, you know, lost faith in Trump for whatever reason, or never liked him for one reason or another. They didn't like Biden. They're kind of in the middle. This is something that will probably sway some of them, or at least take votes away from him, because now you can see it's just so overt. It's so overt because it doesn't matter if this was an unforced error, which it wasn't. It was done on purpose. We know this. They don't care. They were planning on this for a while. But let's say that it was unforced. Do you want an administration that is that incompetent, that's stupid, that they don't think about something like this before? And if it was on purpose, do you want an administration that endorses this agenda over the principles that created this country and the vast majority of the people in this country who are Christian? Like, come on. They would never do such a thing during Ramadan or anything like that, or some other religious holiday. You can bet that they would never do that to Islam, to Judaism. They would never do that, but Christianity, totally fine. You know, this is where we are. This is where we are. And, you know, it's fairly obvious that there has always been a war against people of faith. Well, not always, but there's been a war against people of faith in this country, especially the last few years. And it is because every authoritarian regime has to eliminate religion. Religion must be eliminated. There is no authority as long as people have faith in God, as long as people know that there's a higher power, as long as they have something that they can stand where they can be in shackles, in the darkest prison, the darkest depths. But if they have faith, they will always stand up. And that is the problem with these people. That is the problem with the government. Religion gives you freedom and defiance against tyranny, because you cannot take away what is in a man's soul. You cannot break that. And that is a stronger force and power than any government that exists in this world. And it doesn't matter how they crack down, who they imprison, what they do to those people, that will always be there, and that bothers them. It has bothered every authoritarian regime in history, from ages past to the Soviet Union and China today and North Korea. That is the way that it is. So this is what they always do. They want to eliminate any set of morality or code that is not what they have chosen, and that is why they treat this new secularism and progressivism as a religion. That is essentially what it is. And they are co-opting the dates of the faith. That is what they're doing. So it is a religion in which you must be devout. If you're a non-believer, you are punished. You're ridiculed online. They will send their zealots after you to try to destroy this. So, this is what they want. This is what they want. They want to ostigate you, criticize you, demoralize you, and make you feel as if you can't continue on, that you have this burden over you all the time. And that's the time that you have to have the most faith in yourself and your beliefs and your moral code and in what you believe in, to stand up against all of this stuff. That is the way that it has to be here, because it is more overt than ever that we are dealing with forces that are evil. That really is how it is. It is. And that has influenced everything that is going on right now. We live in a country that has no border. There is no other country in the world that does anything like that. We have our adversaries and our enemies ridiculing us and probing us every day. We've got cyber attacks. We're wasting money on wars abroad that have nothing to do with us. We're sapping away the American people's wealth and treasure. We don't care about what is going on here. You know, this is where the altruism comes in. You know, I am all for, if you're telling me that you're going to take taxpayer dollars because, you know, typically Republicans don't like this kind of stuff, conservatives, and you're going to take it away from Ukraine and bring it back to the border, secure the border. You're going to rebuild infrastructure in the U.S. You're going to do all that stuff. You know what? I'm for those projects now. I'm for the American people. That is what I want. If there are taxpayer dollars out there that need to be spent, they need to be spent on the American people and making this country better, securing our borders and making sure that we are safe and that we can actually be free, that we can actually be free from this type of oppression. You know, at the end of the day, that is what it's all about. Now, that's going to take strength of courage and conviction on all of our parts. And that's what it's taken from the start, because you're going to see a level of desperation from these people in the next few months as things continue on, because people are not taking this stuff anymore. They really aren't. They're waking up to it. And I think, you know, when you see Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks flipping out because of everything that is going on, you know, these squatter laws and the rampant crime in cities throughout the United States, it really is. It is like evil is possessing this country right now. And even people that have been hardcore on the left for years are starting to realize this is too much. This is wrong. We have gone too far off the deep end. This cannot continue. It is unsustainable. And I think it's going to make a difference. I really do. And I think that, you know, we have to hold strong. We have to be smart, because I think, you know, I started this show, you know, weeks ago or months ago at this point, talking about showing restraint. And I think that is one of the things that we have to do, you know. And this is now where I can start, you know, getting into a little bit of Easter and all this stuff, because this kind of flows into it. So, as you guys know, I've been through a lot the last few months. You know, a lot of things. Didn't know if I wanted to stream again. Changed a lot of things in my life. Had to rediscover myself. So Easter means a lot to me. The resurrection means a lot, because in a lot of ways, I feel that I've resurrected as an individual over these last few months. The Rolando that we used to know, he basically died. He's not here anymore. I've changed. I've had to find my faith, you know, rebuild my relationships with friends and family, and rediscover myself as an individual after doing this for years. Not being solo as a co-host, and it took a lot. You know, there were moments there where I was in deep despair, and I didn't know if I was going to come out of it. I didn't know if I wanted to do this anymore and if I could go on. But the one thing that I knew is that I needed to find faith in God again. I'd walked away from that path. You know, I'd neglected that relationship for years. And I knew that the only way that I was going to get out of that and not be in that despair and depression was to put my faith in Him. And it's incredible the reception that I've gotten and the people that have been there along the way. Friends of mine that were never Christians in the past, years ago, that I hadn't spoken to, and it really helped, you know, and found that place and found people that were like-minded and had been through that. So it really helped, you know, to know that I wasn't alone out there. And that's gotten me through pretty much everything recently in my life, whether it's, what happened in the past with my ex, or, health, navigating through all of this and going solo and rebuilding the show, rebranding, and kind of taking a different direction in the way that I've done things, and trying to be more positive in the midst of all of this despair that we have and negativity everywhere. So, it's, it's great. It's great to see that. And it's been fantastic for me. And I know it's been good for a lot of other people, and that's great. But I think you have to have that foundation, that moral code within you that you go by. If it's religion, that's great. It doesn't even have to be religion itself. Religion is not important. It's having that faith, and having something that you can stand by, that no matter what, that's where your integrity will stand. Those are the lines that you won't cross, and that's the sword that you'll die on. And I think that that's important. So, that's the way I looked at it. And it would have been difficult for me to go forward without that. And I really do feel that I've been reborn here. And it comes back to restraint. It is said that, when Christ was dying on the cross, he could have called upon the angels to come and save him. The legions of angels could have come down and, rescued him and smited the Romans and prevented everything that was happened. But there had to be restraint there because the sacrifice had to be made. The sacrifice had to be made. Jesus had to die for our sins, and God knew it. And that's why you had to hold back. And sometimes we have to have the restraint in order for things to happen the right way. And I think right now we have to take that lesson and show restraint in everything that's going on. Because if you do look at it, it almost seems amazing that the deck has been stacked against, people that believe in conservative or libertarian values, freedom, for these last, few years. It really feels like the deck has been stacked against us. You've got the media pushing against us. You've got social media pushing against us. You've got corporations pushing against us. You have authoritarian at every corner. And, despite all of that, despite, the last election, more and more people are waking up to the problems that we face every single day. And we've been making progress. We really have been making progress there. And I really do think that there's a path forward, and it doesn't have to be bad. And I think that's the thing. That's the thing that I've been seeing the most. Will there be desperation? I think there'll be desperation on both sides. And I think, understandably so. People are grasping. People don't know. They're afraid. They don't know how things are going to turn out either way. But like I always say, you got to have faith, have positivity, and not be afraid to talk. You need to be, have strength in your convictions and everything that goes with that. And I do think that we can make it, but we do need to start shifting the priority to ourselves. But what I mean by ourselves is our country. I think that we have strayed away too long. We have tried, and this is our politicians, because let's be honest, as a citizenry, we've been asleep at the wheel. That's really what it is. The politicians in this country have been able to get away with the things that they do and their agenda because we are asleep at the wheel. This is something that I've harped on, since I started this new show. It's something that I harped on for years. It's something that I've talked about on any show that I can get on. It is that we have been asleep at the wheel. That's where we are. And now we're not. We've drank our coffee. Zeltroid for $10. Preach, brother. He is risen. Hope you have an awesome Easter. When you get back to Gun Talk, let me know what should be my next 308 battle rifle. Oh, I think you already know what I'm going to say, Johnny, but I will save that. Remind me later on in the show, because I can go on these tangents. And right now, when I'm on a roll like this one, you never know where I'm going to end up. And I'll answer that question. But I do own it, so that should answer your question right now. Make me large. God bless you, Johnny. Johnny's fantastic. Go follow Zeltroid and follow Johnny Arnett, his basketball channel as well. He's been one of my best friends, and really, I got to give Johnny credit. Johnny, I'm going to throw you on the spot here, because Johnny is one of the guys that has been there. He and his wife Alasia have been excellent to me through this journey, and their prayers and their spiritual guidance has been, fantastic for me. So I really love Johnny and Alasia. I wish them all the best. They're fantastic. So thank you, brother. I really appreciate you. Man, he's gonna make me choke up over here, man. But This is where we have to go. These are the times that try men's souls. This is when we have to have our strength and our conviction. So they're going to try everything, but it's falling flat. A lot of this stuff is falling flat. Steel Leg of History for $2. Be blessed. So proud of you. Thank you, Steel Leg of History. You've been doing fantastic. I'm proud of your streams too, and seeing the hard work that you put in there. That's great. I thank you so much. So, you know, that's how we have to be. We have to pray for peace going forward, hope for it, but prepare for anything. We really do. We can't be ignorant in this. We can't just hide. And, you know, even when I say faith, even when I say pray, that doesn't mean to, you know, use that and expect everything to be okay, because sometimes it isn't. That's not the way the world works. Sometimes the bad times have to come, and they are. And we have to get through them. And those are the times that are really going to test us and what we do, the true metal of who we are. When things actually get bad, when terrible decisions are being made, do you have the integrity to stand up and do what is right in those moments and not lose your humanity? Because it's really easy to lose your humanity. And, you know, we see that on the internet every day. The rage. This is why I'm not getting involved in the firefights on the right. Because at this point, I'm like, I've listened to all of these people for so many years, and a lot of them I've trusted. You know, that's where I'm at. So, you know, I've listened to Crowder, I've listened to Candace, I've listened to Ben Shapiro, I've listened to Tim Pool, I've listened to a lot of these guys and gals. And at one point, you have to decide, like, do you trust them or not? And what do you trust? And take whatever you think they may be, whatever agenda, you know, make it yourself. I'm an America First guy. I am. You know, I think Israel is a pretty powerful country. There are religious connotations with protecting Israel. So there is a greater spiritual reasoning behind that. If that's not something you're into, I get it. But there is. But Israel is a very powerful country. I don't think that the U.S. should stand in the way of what Israel is doing or interfere in their politics or anything like that. Let them do what they need to do in Gaza. I think they can pay for stuff and weapons if they want to buy it from us. That's fine. I'm kind of non-interventionist when it comes to this stuff. Ukraine, cut them off. If they want to buy stuff, if the Europeans want to pay for our weapons that we are sending over there and to pay to increase our industrial capacity, and the Ukrainians want to do that, then yeah, I'm a capitalist. I'm for that. That's totally fine. I am not for the American taxpayer paying for this stuff. I'm all for being the arms dealer of the world, if that's what you want to be. I'm a Second Amendment guy. I think everybody should be able to own guns, and that you should be able to own whatever gun you want. So I'm totally okay with selling guns to everybody. Totally fine with that. Especially people who are deserving of it. But I'm not for giving that stuff away for free. I'm not for the American taxpayer to fund, wars that we're not involved with that may end up, hurting us in the future and, taking our eyes off of, domestic policies, the crises that we have here. This country is falling apart. Let's be honest. This country is falling apart right now. And, that's what we have to look at. That really is what we have to look at. Look, these are the things that we have to deal with. We spend billions of dollars on foreign aid every day. And I get it. There's always the part of me that's going to be altruistic, that is like, there is a lot of good that the U.S. has done throughout the world. There's no doubt. There's a lot of stability that the U.S. brings throughout the world. There is no doubt. We do. But the problem is that we've also brought pain and suffering throughout the world in order to maintain that. And so that's where we have to draw the balance. And we've given away our blood and treasure and squandered our reputation of being that beacon. When the Chinese, of all people, when Vladimir Putin can sit in an interview and say he'd rather work with the Chinese. Now, there's obviously, there's an agenda here to say this, but the fact that he can say it and you can just kind of like, I mean, what can I really say to that? That he's like, I kind of rather deal with the Chinese because they haven't gone around bombing other countries and trying to take over territory and unjustified conflict. I can assure you that one day they probably will. They absolutely will. But he's pointing it out. It's like, what have you done recently? It's like, well, unfortunately, the track record of our government in foreign conflict has been very bad. So those are the repercussions that we have to deal with. That is what, we have going on here. So how do we draw this balance? How do we? I think right now it's just having Congress stand strong. That's really what it is. Try to freeze spending, not go any further, put this country on a holding pattern until the election. After the election, you're going to have to see where the chips lie. Who controls Congress, who has the presidency, that's going to decide everything. And there will probably be a crisis of some sort, no matter which way it goes, depending on how the outcome is achieved. And those are all things that we need to prepare for. But I think as society kind of deteriorates around us, more and more people are going to be awoken to these things. And they're going to be more sympathetic to the cause of, hey, I need some freedom here. I need freedom to be able to protect myself. I need infrastructure. I need criminals to actually be charged. I need, the system and infrastructure that we have in place to actually function, the rule of law. Or at a minimum, if you're not going to enforce the rule of law, then I need the means to enforce it myself. Period. That's really what I need. So the people need to be able to protect themselves regardless. I mean, look at the rampant things that we've been seeing, not just in the United States, throughout the world. Look at France. France has been falling apart. Europe has been taken over. Their migrant crisis is even worse than what's been going on in the United States, as far as I'm concerned. They have allowed a complete invasion of their country, of their continent, essentially, of military-aged males without trying to integrate society. And this is where the woke agenda is killing the West. This is where it is. It is killing the West. And was this by design? I'm sure that this is design involved. I'm sure the Chinese and the Russians influence it. Yuri Bezmenov has talked about this ad nauseum for decades. So we know, we know all about that. We know all about Saul Alinsky and his tactics. We know, all these left-wing authoritarian tactics have been used in the universities by the Weather Underground and other organizations throughout history, and how the Soviets helped, fund a lot of these left-wing extremist groups and the government. France was heavily influenced by that. A lot of these scholars came from French colleges and brought those ideologies here. If for a while, France was just kind of neutral with the Soviet Union and the United States for a period there. So France has always been kind of, France's politics is kind of like quicksand. They've got like no consistency. It's always been a bit chaotic, especially since the monarchy fell, and then you had Napoleon and all that stuff. It's just been kind of a mess. So, you got to look to Europe. Europe is in a way ahead of us, because Europe after World War II was completely devastated. It was completely devastated. A massive portion of Eastern Europe, obviously, was occupied by the Soviet Union and influenced by communism, and the rest was rebuilt. And they were dealing with the trauma of 2 world wars that had devastated the continent and erased a lot of the history that existed there. There are, monuments and architecture and things that were wiped out that we'll never see again because of these 2 massive conflicts. Millions of people died, and they needed to reset. So, Europe started from scratch, and they had that trauma in their minds that they never wanted to have that to happen again. So they started losing their, national viewpoints, their pride, their patriotism. And I understand the mentality. Their monarchs and emperors had used patriotism and nationalism against them to rally them and basically push them towards a martial goal of conquering and conflict. And so I get it. They're like, you know what? We kind of fell for this stuff. Like we don't really want it around, and the U.S. basically gave them security. They basically traded a lot of their freedom and national sovereignty for security from the United States. And we took advantage of it, obviously, because we were the ones that came out unscathed. The Soviets even lost millions of people. So how's it going, Forgotten Man? Hail, I can see the conversations in there. Cerberus, welcome to the Candungueros. We got almost 50 people here watching. It's just rapid fire, ad-libbing all over the place. This is what the rants are all about. Totally unscripted. Don't know where I'm going or where I'm going to end up, but I'm going to make it there somehow, and we'll all get there together. So, we're dealing with this history in Europe. We're dealing with the trauma of 2 world wars and of, national pride getting the better of them. This has happened in Europe for like 1,000 years, basically. So but it's still ingrained, it's still ingrained in their blood, being under authoritarian regimes and monarchs and things like that. So, the viewpoint of freedom, the way that America looks at it, was never, the Europeans never really picked that up. So you had the EU and other things eventually come to play, the unification of Europe, and they lost a lot of the strength that they had. But, a lot of that too was the decolonialism of England and France. So, up until the end of World War II, England and France still had a lot of overseas colonies and things like that. And the French especially, they did a lot of bad stuff after World War II and dealing in Angola and a lot of that stuff. So people forget about all this. The U.S. isn't the only one that was kicking down doors. We went into Indochina or Vietnam because it was French Indochina because of the French. So the French have been kicking down doors. They've been causing problems in their colonies for decades, for hundreds of years. And so through the decolonization process, they start repudiating a lot of this stuff. And I think there's no doubt that what the Europeans did was awful. There are a lot of atrocities committed by the British, the French, the Spanish, all of them, all of the above. The Middle East is a total shit show because of the way that the Middle East was divvied up after the world wars, splitting groups up, not based on ethnic or historical lines or even religious ethnicities, just going all willy-nilly. So those are problems that we're dealing with today because of how the Middle East was split up. And those are repercussions that we're going to continue to deal with for decades or centuries into the future, unless the Middle East shakes itself up and they've got new borders drawn that make more sense. So, but those are the consequences of all the things that we're dealing with. So look, I get it. I get it. I get where the Europeans went, but I think everyone went to an opposite extreme where it's like, we're going to we're going to abdicate ourselves all of this stuff. We did a lot of bad things with colonization and other stuff. We're just going to go backwards now. We're going to go backwards. And instead we're almost going to, it's almost like Europe went too far for repenting for their sins, to use, another religious metaphor here. They saw it like we had taken over the world. We caused all these world wars. It was because of our national pride and all this other stuff and our kings and monarchies. And, we're not going to do that anymore. We're just not going to do that. We'll let major corporations and globalists handle that stuff. But we as nations, we're going to repudiate and we're going to bring the third world into our borders now because we feel terrible for all the things that we did in the past. Okay, maybe in practice, yeah, that sounds okay. All right. It sounds like a nice thing. It's pretty charitable, but it's short-sighted and people weren't thinking. And I think this is the problem that we have. This is how a lot of voters are. I genuinely think that a lot of people that vote, it's not even Democrat, because this is globally, for more liberal or left-wing causes because of a sense of charity and empathy. There's no doubt that that's usually the reason. The bleeding heart liberal, quote unquote, so to speak. And I understand that mentality. There are a lot of people that I speak to. They're good people with good hearts, and they're, they've forgotten the part where they can do charity and they can do charitable works and they can volunteer and do those. No, we didn't. Okay. Hopefully I am back. I think we had a little bit of a hiccup there. Let's see. Let me know if I am back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. It looks like I'm back. It looks like it had yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't have Spectrum. I'm hardwired in. It's actually AT&T fiber. Whatever. That hasn't happened in a while. All right, cool. Thank you, everybody. Man, see, now I lost my train of thought. This is what happens when you've got ADD and you're on a roll and you just forget about it. Love to see my mods in the chat. Greg, Carla, and of course, Johnny. All right, chat. I really do have ADD. You'll have to remind me where I was going in the rant. It's that bad sometimes. With everything. But yeah, we've abdicated ourselves. We have failed as a people. Religious institutions in this country have failed to take up the slack. And we have to get better. We really do have to get better in that way, because that's kind of why we've started to rely on the government when you think about it, because volunteer organizations, we as people, we don't care about our neighbor anymore. And I think that is something that the rat race, there's something to be said about capitalism is the best system, economic system in the history of mankind. There's no doubt about that. But like with anything else, if there's no sense of moral code, if there's no sense of morality, it's going to be a disaster just like anything else. You're going to get, monopolies and corporatism and collusion of corporations and government and corporations that don't care about, bankrupting competitors and things like that and using the power of government to destroy other businesses. You're not going to do, that's cronyism. That's where it leads. So you need morality in that sense. You got to have a moral code knowing, hey, I'm not going to screw over my customers. I'm going to stand by, produce a product that is of good quality, stand by that product, support that product, and produce better products in the future and sell them at fair prices that make sense. And I'm not going to gouge my, my client base here. And I think that that's important. We need that. So, and I think we've forgotten it. And that's why we've abdicated so much for the government, welfare, assistance, all these things. A lot of that is necessary. There are people, that live within society that cannot, that do need that assistance. But in the past, traditionally, it has been the church and other religious or volunteer organizations that have taken care of that. And I think our sense of service and duty when it comes to helping each other out has kind of deteriorated. And that's why the government has come in and kind of picked up the slack. So, and yeah, at Victorium, yes, BioShock is kind of that example of capitalism without morality. So, and I think that's what you need to do. And I think it's true. Willie D. Jones does bring a good point. There are people of faith that are bad examples and that don't live life correctly and that are, overly judgmental instead of bringing people in. I think that there has to be a better approach of doing certain things. Let me get myself into trouble here. I'm going to get myself into trouble. No, let me not go there. There are just certain approaches. Like if there are people that you're trying to reach out to, calling them names is not the best way to do it. Now, if somebody's attacking you directly and, making fun of you, ridiculing your beliefs, or either religious or political, or, even if it's the game that you like, then by all means defend yourself and attack them. But if you know that there are people that need your message, that really need it, it's best not to make fun of them, call them names, and things like that, just because you might reach out to them. You really will. I think a good example of this is, things are always taken out of context as well. So that's why you always have to be careful. Lord knows Trump gets taken out of context all the time. I know you keep saying that Warsaw Patriot, you do. How many people have you heard tell stories of, that they disliked, President Trump or somebody else. And when they went to one of his rallies, that's when they really got it. And they're like, you know what? I actually really like this guy. Seems sincere, or the message resonates with me. And I think that that's important. And I think a lot of times we don't get to have that message resonating. And I think that's usually when it's the most powerful. You need to be able to stand up and fight against people, and you can't be a pushover, but you also have to know when certain people may be listening that maybe want that more empathetic message. It's like, hey, I know you're suffering. I know what you've been through. The economy is bad. I know that you want to help people that are in need, but this is where we are. The economy is toast. We've got more than $35 trillion in debt. Our military's recruitment numbers are at all-time lows. We've got wars and chaos overseas. Like, we can't continue down this path. We really can't. Like I understand the things that you're saying. I get it. You want to help people in other countries. You see people suffering that are coming across the border. I would be one of those people that would try to cross the border too. Because who would want to stay in a lot of these countries? I understand the motivations. So you have to have that empathy and that sympathy. But then that's when the hard truth comes in. And here's the hard truth. The hard truth is that my house is burning down and my family is inside of it. That's what's going on. America is my house. My family's inside. Mom, my house is burning down, and I'm having the fight of a lifetime with my wife. That's what's going down. Our kids are in there. It's chaos. The battle between my wife and I, figuratively in this metaphor, is so bad that we're not even paying attention to the kids. We're not paying attention to the fire. That's where we're at. That's where we are. It's chaos. And it's not even the meme where, this is fine. It is utter chaos, and we're blinded to everything else. All these other external issues are going on. Our neighbors, there's gang violence in the neighborhood, all this stuff. The neighbors are over there. Meanwhile, I am sending my oldest son over to help the neighbor deal with, this other guy, these gangs that have broken into his neighborhood. But my house is burning down. My house is burning down. My younger kids are suffering. I need to get them out of here. I sent my oldest son to go deal with other stuff and violence somewhere else. My door is wide open. People are coming in here looting my house as it is burning down. And I cannot have a conversation and reconcile with my wife, and nothing can progress. This is where the United States is. The people looting our stuff are people coming from overseas, crossing the border, taking away resources, whether it's welfare and other things like that. Violence is going on. Me sending my son is us sending our military away, sending our resources, our weaponry away to help somebody else when my house is burning down. And that is where I am. That is where we are. And I understand that everybody wants to help other people. The problem is we have not been helping ourselves. They are not helping themselves. We have not been helping themselves. Zeltroid says, I think too many Christians act like sharing the gospel is the same as the same way they own the libs, but you're rarely going to get people to see things your way with that harsh approach. It's absolutely true, Johnny. That's not the way. You can't beat the people over the head with religion or your political views. You really can't. The best approach that I have seen over the last few years is an approach of empathy. Now, you're going to have people that you're passionate with and that you're going to get heated with, usually people that you trust. If somebody's insulting you or they dealt with you supposedly in good faith, how many times have we seen where, people on social media on the right try to go, in good faith to do an interview with, like a left-wing publication, they get completely taken out of context or they don't use anything. It's happened a lot of times. We've seen that. So I get it. Or people on the internet are just savage beasts that there's no reasoning with. I get it. You're going to go after them. It is what it is. But sometimes when you go after them with kindness, other people watch. And sometimes your audience isn't the people on your side. Because, we're the echo chamber. We're always going to be like, hell yeah, man, that was a savage takedown. Let's freaking go. Own the libs. That's what I love to see. You're always going to get those points. You're always going to take the crazies down because, their arguments are usually pretty insane and out there. But if you can take the approach with logic sometimes and throw it out there, it's going to be fine. We've got a lot of bomb throwers on the right. There are a lot of people that are going out on the offensive. That doesn't mean that everybody has to do it. We've got the people out there that are doing that stuff. You know who they are. You watch a lot of them. I think that there's multiple approaches that we need to take here because that's just going to be the way. It is the hard truth. That's the approach that we have to take. And I'm going to keep harping on that because it has been effective. It has been effective for me to win hearts and minds, especially in my experience on the gun side. On the gun side, that's where it is. So, you wouldn't believe how many people, when I started doing this kind of stuff, in my day job, I used to do a lot of field work. So I'd go to clients' offices, meet with people in person, and work with them face to face. And so they would get certain impressions about me. I was always very professional, very nice. I mean, you guys have seen kind of how I carry myself when I'm not doing rants. Some of you have met me in person, and you guys know how I am. Not really different than I am here, but I'm nice to everybody that I meet, unless you're an asshole to me. But so, they always have a certain impression of you. And the one thing that they never realized was that I was always carrying a gun. I always was. Certain circumstances, I would be carrying a long gun on my person as well, depending on what I have and where I am. And nobody would know that. Nobody would ever think anything of it. They would never believe it. And then there are a few times when I would bring up, or I would hear conversations, doing work in an office, people, talking about firearms and all that stuff. And I would interject you don't tell people that you're carrying a gun. That's usually not a good approach. But, just kind of listen in on it, talk about it. And then, I'd kind of let people know that, hey, I'm into firearms. I do, done safety classes. I'm our range safety officer. I've owned guns, and, I talk about them. And, I wouldn't tell people that I had a podcast or anything like that because I don't want that affecting my day job, especially because things get pretty spicy. So, but it's interesting how being firm but polite has an effect on people, because when we get defensive and we get passionate, it does come through, but it can be overbearing. It can be too much. It's like you're beating someone down, and it's just, you can't get your message across. They've already heard you. You've made the argument. Either they're going to accept it or they're not. And all you're doing is just digging a hole. And it's just going to make people angry sometimes. You have to know when to stop and when to change your approach, or when it's just not going to work. And you have to move on and move forward and just say, okay, well, it's not going to work with this person. It is what it is. And you have to be cognizant of that. And sometimes it can be difficult when it's cognizant of that, especially when you believe that you're right. That's always the hardest part. You have to find that approach. And again, be firm, be strong, have conviction, but have empathy too, and work on your approach. And that is always very, very effective in my opinion. I think that, I'm always going to use the gun space as the example for me. And that's how it is, because typically I would be in offices where I would work with women. And so, women are typically, and mothers are the ones that are concerned about, guns and crime and violence and things like that. And they're obviously very sensitive when a tragedy occurs, in a school or children are involved. And so you have to take a protector approach of, if somebody was attacking your child and you were there and there was something that you could do about it, what would you do? Then, most people's answer is I would do anything to save my child. It's like, okay, well, what if I give you the option? What if I can give you something that can change the tide here and allow you to possibly save your child? Well, then I want it. It's like, well, that's, in a lot of situations, that's going to be a firearm. It's an answer that you don't like, but that's true. If you have multiple people attacking you, if you're at a disadvantage, if you're physically smaller than people that are attacking you, firearm is going to be the way to go. You need to be physically fit. You need to do all those things. But there comes a time where you need that force multiplier. I don't want to get into a fist fight if I don't have to. I don't want to do it. It's pretty painful. And I may not win. I'm an average guy. I'm an average size guy. So I may not win. If I got multiple dudes coming at me, then my chances definitely go down. But if I have a firearm on me, if I've got knives, if I've got a flashlight, all of the above at once on different sides of your body. So if somebody goes to grab your gun, you got your knife in your other hand, or you got your flashlight, which you can beat them with, or you can flash them with and blind them. Those are all the things that you need. So you need that force multiplier. You really do. And I don't really care who you are. It'll help. Because even if you're the biggest dude around, you're badass running around 6'5", you got multiple people coming at you. You got guys with guns. We talked about what happened in Russia. If you're dealing with, 5 guys with, select fire, assault rifles, because those are, with assault rifles, because they were select fire, you're going to be in a bad day if you're running around with your SIG P365. It's going to be tough. John Wick might be able to make it out, but most of the time you're not going to be able to. So you have to have the wherewithal. You've got to be prepared. But those are the situations you have to tell people. And a lot of people, they want insulation from reality and from danger. They don't want to know what goes on in the world. And they think that there is a magic way that they can snap their fingers and make everything okay. That's not the way that it is. And I think, it is a sad and sobering truth. And it's a truth that a lot of people don't want to accept. And typically, until somebody has been a victim of crime, or they've been, maybe rescued by somebody who had a firearm, there's really no changing. Oh, excuse me. And, a lot of people have, JM the Elite fan, sorry, I saw this. Rolo's the dude with the sombrero and spurs on his boots that Rip always talks about. Perhaps one day I will show up that way. And I will have the hat and everything and the revolver on my hip. JM the Elite fan. I'll be like, ha! Pray for mercy from the Puerto Rican pistolero. Oh, man. But maybe that'll be a thing. I actually did some AI art and created like a Puerto Rican pistolero at one point. He looked pretty cool. He was like Zorro with like a P. He's like Zorro with like a red cape and he's got a P. And he had like 2 revolvers instead of his sword. So I was like, that seems like the Puerto Rican pistolero to me. It's pretty good. And he rides in on his trusty Mustang. Not the horse, but the car. As I did back in the day. Rolo out here breaking the cosplay ceiling. Look, I do various impersonations of different voices sometimes. Very few people know this. Maybe like one person here probably knows that, aside from my family. So I got a little bit of a repertoire there. It's not something that I do that often, but maybe on streams and stuff. I mean, look, if you guys want me to do crazy stuff like that, you're going to have to send super chats. That's just the way it's going to be. So smash that like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And if you want to hear more crazy voices, then if you want the Puss in Boots de la Vega kind of thing, that's okay. That's more of an exclusive voice though. We can't use that one too often, but we got a different voice around here. We got our Texas Ranger. We got our, I don't know what this guy is. Some weird gruff kind of dude that's out there on the border. Or, oh no, that's more of the sergeant from what is it? Tropic Thunder. I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. You're the dude that don't know what dude he is. He was a saucier from San Antone. So, Rippa ad-libs your voice and claims it as his own. Man, Rippa's got a good voice, though. Like, when Rippa, didn't he do, like, his own I Saw Him, like, commercial, and he had, like, the top? I was like, Rippa could do his own voice acting. Rippa's got a good voice. I love Rippa. But, yeah, you gotta break out the voices sometimes. What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people? Now I've lost my train of thought because I'm wondering, I was about to do like a voice, like, do I do this in a voice or do I continue on? Am I going to lose the plot here? Let's get back on track. Let's get back on track here. So again, it's going to come down to personal responsibility. When it comes to what are the things that we can do? Try to help more. I think that we do need to, if we want the size of government to decrease, we need to show the alternatives. We really do. And that means that we do have to be more charitable. You don't have to be a Christian to do this. I think that the church can do a lot of good things. I know that churches have gone through a lot of bad things. There's a lot of hypocrisy out there. Unfortunately, this is part of the problem of what we're going into. The people don't stand up to their own moral codes, whether it's their own personal belief that they have decided they're a code of honor, so to speak, or they've adopted, a faith-based code and a belief in God. Regardless, you've got to have that. And I think we've moved away from that. And, so what can we do better? We got to take some of these responsibilities. We do have to be involved in the government, because the government, if we decide that we're just going to be like small L libertarians and anarcho-capitalists, well, what are we going to do? We're going to sit around and do nothing, right? We have to participate in the system if you want to change it. So you got to vote right now. Whether you want to or not, you have to. If you don't believe that it works, you still have nothing to lose, because that's it. That's what's going to happen. You can't run like a one-man conflict here to change the entire world. You got to use the system that you have. And that is kind of what the progressive authoritarians have done. They've used the system in place to get themselves in positions of power, colleges, things like that. So people that are libertarian and conservative, Christian, whatever, freedom-minded, they need to step up. They need to step up. That means getting involved in your city councils, volunteering at soup kitchens, doing things like that, helping other people out, being mentors at youth groups and things like that, cleaning up places. We have to do it ourselves. We really do, because that's how a society would function without a government anyway. We have too many libertarian people that are talking about, well, how would a society function? Or I want anarchy. And it's like, well, you may not have corporations that work correctly right away in such a system without regulation. Like, let's be honest. So if you let's say that you even set up your own anarchist or libertarian enclave somewhere. At first, it's going to be you and a bunch of buddies, maybe a few dozen of you. So it's going to be up to you to do everything. You guys are going to sweep the streets. You guys are going to take care of each other. You're going to negotiate. You're going to barter. You're going to create this type of system. Eventually, if you create currency, then you're going to have to deal with that. So, but at first, you're going to build that up. And we need to take some responsibility for that. And the more that we do ourselves too, the less that we'd have to pay. Either taxpayer dollars to a government that's going to be inefficient, or a corporation that doesn't give a crap about us, even if we're okay with paying for their services. Let's be honest, they don't care. So, we have to take some of that responsibility for ourselves. And I think that that's something that we haven't done. The church has got to do more. Let's be honest. I think a lot of churches have sat on their butts. You've got some churches that have gone crazy and they've gone all in on this, LGBTQ and transgender stuff. Those aren't churches anymore. They've been lost. But I think, again, you have to be more open in the message. You want to bring people in, but not open to the point where it's like, oh yeah, anything goes. That's not the way that it is either. You can't be afraid of preaching the gospel and the faith, but you also have to be open. Your heart must be open. You have to have empathy for people to bring them in, and you have to have patience. Got to have patience for people. So those are all, things you have to do. And, make sure that these organizations take up the slack. If you want to eliminate abortion, which, that's a moral cause that's worthy, you're going to have a lot of children that are also born to families that did not want them, or women that didn't want them, that now may become, go into the child protective system, which people on the right absolutely hate. We hate the child protective services. We hate all that. We hate the government infrastructure. We know it doesn't work. So what's the alternative then? That is a consequence that a lot of people don't think about when you eliminate abortion. What are we going to do with the children that are born now that these people didn't want, that they would have aborted anyway? Those are things we don't think about. So we have to have an infrastructure in place for that, or we need to volunteer to help this out. There need to be organizations that we invest in to help with this. There's no free lunch. So, these are the things that we have to think about, even as conservatives, that you have some sort of moral cause, but even a cause of good has consequences that when we don't think about would be bad. So yes, saving a child from abortion, that's a great thing. Not making sure what happens to them after they're born, to now a family that probably didn't want them, a mother that didn't want them, that's not a good thing. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. These are all the things that we need to look at. And we have to step up as individuals to take up the slack in our society. We have to do better. We can't be as selfish, or else we're just going to get lazy and we give the government or corporations power. That's pretty much what we're doing. We are abdicating our sovereignty. The same way that, bringing it full circle now, the same way that the European countries have given away their sovereignty, allowed themselves to be invaded and corrupted because they stopped caring and they allowed the U.S. to be their protectors. That's what's been going on. We've abdicated the things that we have to do because we, as responsible individuals that work hard and that try to raise our families and do all this stuff, we feel like we're overwhelmed sometimes. We've got the blinders on. We can only see, our peripheral vision is being blocked, and we're blind to a lot of this, to a lot of these things. And we need to do better in that regard. And, the other thing, obviously, that's related to this is the war. And this kind of goes to the next topic, which is the shenanigans with Xbox, which I'm really disappointed in, because you guys know the Xbox has traditionally been my console of choice. I've got them all, but Xbox from the start was my favorite. But anyway, the battle of the sexes right now that we're dealing with is awful. It is probably the worst consequence of everything that we're dealing with, because this is where we are. The battle and the hatred between men and women, and how we've been propagandized into like hating one another. It's a huge issue. And that's going to be one that's going to be difficult to solve as well. Because look, boys, the cat's out of the bag. Women are feminists. A woman can be a feminist, but still be a woman and have faith and do things. The problem is the modern, like, third or fourth wave or whatever type of feminist that we have now that basically promotes and supports transgenderism and says that men can be women. That's a serious problem. The one that says men, I believe that there was a poll, and I need to look at this, where, a majority of men say that they need women. A majority of women no longer say that they need men. And it's kind of a sad statement, and I understand what it means. It's not that throughout history, obviously, we've lived in societies where men have dominated. There's no lie about that. That's just the truth. Women have been married off. They've been abused. They haven't had rights and all this stuff. So these are all recent developments that have happened. And I think our society never reconciled. This is what tends to be what happens here, where we change something in the past that was wrong, but then we don't talk about, like, well, what are the consequences? Like, you're not even allowed to talk about that, because it's like, well, that was wrong. We're gonna right the wrong. So that's it. And it's like, well, can't we talk about, like, some of the consequences? It doesn't mean that we're going to change our mind and change these rules, but we at least need to say, like, well, these are some of the things that may happen. Gay marriage was definitely one of those things. So I think we needed to realize, it's like, look, women are going to be in the workforce. That's how it's going to be. What are some of the consequences of that? How do we balance these things out? And I think that I think where there was a failure is that it's, we never talked about it. I think communication is really a key here. And I think that we talk past each other a lot of times. We yell past each other. This is true. Yeah, this is true. Zeltroider's right. It is. Look, this comes back to that we've all failed in a lot of ways. We really have. We fall prey to the worst examples of men and women, and that's what we see on the internet all the time. That's what we see. We see men that are chauvinistic, that date multiple women, cheat on their women all their time, cheat on their wives, have kids with multiple women, and don't pay their child support. We have countless examples of that. We have women that prey on men and go on dates with them just so that they can get free dates, or women that will lie about a pregnancy and say that it was with one man instead of another. Those things happen. They're terrible. Women can make an accusation, destroy a man's entire reputation. These are the bad things that we've done to one another. But at the end of the day, this is what I tell people. Are we going to keep pointing to the bad things that men and women have done to each other? Are we going to keep going back to the chicken of the egg of, well, the patriarchy was here first and now women are getting their right? We can keep doing that all day, and we can do that about everything. The fact of the matter is, we are where we are now, and how do we get out of this? And that's what we need to do. We need to find that balance. And I think communication is the biggest key with that. And kind of having the standards. I think that there do need to be frank conversations had when it comes to this stuff. I think men can be strong. The whole simp culture is obviously a bad thing. At the same time, men can't be stupid. It's your fault if you're giving a random woman on the internet money and she doesn't behave the way that you think she should. Why should she? You have disrespected yourself by giving money to a woman that is never going to do anything for you. That is a mistake. Why would you do that? And I think that's a weakness, the pornographic transactional society, where this has all just become a transaction. And that's why, women's beauty becomes such a like the be all end all in a lot of ways, because it has become transactional. in this way. And because we live in a society, because of social media, everything is a lie. Everybody thinks that every man or woman has to be a 10 and that anything else is unacceptable. And that you have people that are basically like 4s and 5s saying that they will only ever accept or date a 10, and they're not being realistic about these things. And I think that that's a serious problem. This is distorted. Social media has really distorted and destroyed a lot of this stuff. And push us against one another, and push the toxic masculinity and toxic masculinity, all of this. So, these are the things that we need to work on, but we both have to be worthy of this. Men need to be willing to be leaders, you do. And that means respecting your wife, respecting the sanctity of your marriage, being a good father and being there, being present, and making those sacrifices, and knowing that you have to be strong. Your wife and spouse can work. Women also need to be open that if you are making money now, men used to always be the breadwinners in households or make more money than their spouses that did work. That's just the way it was. Men never looked down upon women because of that. I think a lot of women are not used to, and they do look down upon men that don't make as much money as them. It's something that we've seen. And that's something that's kind of new. And that's something that, women will need to figure that out, because it's always been culturally acceptable for men to be breadwinners, to be the ones that do that. And men never look down upon women that way. There was never like, oh yeah, you don't make money or you don't work, that's fine. Like it's okay. So I think it has to go the other way too. You got to be able to have that contribution, have that understanding. And that again comes with conversations and having that moral code. I think too many of us also complain about people and behavior that we see on the internet, and it's not behavior that we see in our own lives. So we're judging men and women by the terrible things that we see on the internet. I can tell you, I've been through a lot of things in the last months and year. The things that I've been through, I will never judge a person that I am with based on the things that I've gone through. So we need to have the emotional maturity to let the past experiences or the experiences that we have with other people not form the experiences that we have with new people that we interact with. And I think that that's a serious problem that we have. Not everybody's going to be your ex that treated you badly, or the dude that cheated on you, or the woman that spurned you and treated you that way. And you can't treat everyone like they are that way. And with that utter skepticism. So I think that's where we need to improve. Like, we're out there with all this skepticism and all this anger. Look, a lot of times if you're going on a date and nowadays you're probably going to meet online. So if you're honest in your dating profile, you will probably attract a person that has those moral beliefs. Let's be honest. You got to be overt with this stuff, and put it out there. And then that allows you to be more selective, and I think that, you got to be selective. You have to have your standards. There's no doubt. You need to be willing to give people a chance, of course, a lot of times, because sometimes your first impression isn't the right impression. People get nervous. They mess up. Maybe they had a bad day. Getting to know somebody maybe beforehand is actually a really awesome experience. You never know. You don't have to rush things. Taking that time to build that bond, that friendship, and really getting to know somebody deeply before getting into the physical stuff is actually really nice and refreshing. But ultimately, you get to choose who you go out with. So if you have a bad date with somebody, just let it go. Let it go. You went out with them one time, and that's it. Can people change in relationships that go on for years and more than a decade? Yeah, it happens. It's a sad thing that it can happen. I've been through it, but you can't be afraid of that. You can't be afraid of those things and be afraid of being in a relationship. You can't guard yourself, but we can't look at each other like everybody's the bad guy anymore. And you got to put those things out there. Be honest about it. The things that you want. If a man or woman that you're talking to doesn't like those things, you don't go out with them. It's pretty easy. And I think that that's really the big thing. Like everybody, first of all, feels that they're entitled to somebody else. You're not. You're not. The sad truth is that some of us in life may end up alone. It's true. Some of us will go through heartbreak and relationships. Maybe we'll be fortunate enough to meet somebody, the right person again. Maybe we won't. That's the truth. And it's a terrible truth. Sometimes it can be sad. Sometimes you meet the person of your dreams, your soulmate, and they'll pass away. Tragically, something will happen. There's never a guarantee in life. But you can't be afraid of the uncertainty. You just got to live. We all have to live. Ultimately, we can't be afraid of those things. We can't be afraid of the pain, and we can't hold that pain against somebody else. We can't. So there's a lot of bad men and women out there. There's a lot of horrible examples on the internet. There's gold diggers. There's womanizers. There's all that stuff. Don't be those people. Don't be those people. Don't look at the guys like Andrew Tate and try to get like multiple women. That's not the right way either. You can give yourself value, do all that stuff, but that's not the way. If you just want to go and have sex and do all this stuff, go ahead, but people aren't going to respect you the same way. That's not the bonds that are important, in my opinion. Anybody can go ahead and do that. Building a relationship, having a bond between a man and a woman, there's nothing, in my opinion, that is more beautiful. That's what can create life. That is a bond that takes work because we're different. Men and women are different. We think differently. We're physically different. We approach things differently. We suffer from each of our own mental illnesses, testosterone poisoning in the case of men, estrogen poisoning in the way of women. And sometimes we do things that are illogical based on those things. And we have to have the grace and the forgiveness and the wherewithal to communicate those things, because communication is the key. I'm telling all of you, that really is what it is. We have to do better. Just because people are being bad does not mean that you have to stoop down to that level. Surround yourself with the people that you like, the type of people that are good. Be selective in who you date. Like I don't understand how that is so difficult for somebody that, has been, is single for the first time in 13 years, over the last few months. I don't understand why this is so difficult for people. Yeah, it sucks. Of course it sucks. It does. It's not fun. It can be scary to go out there. But at the same time, if you go on a date and it's not that great, you just move on. It's not a big deal. And don't hold your past experiences against somebody else. Don't let yourself, because it really is you. It's you that's doing that. Don't let yourself stop you from getting into something good, great and amazing. Either way, either because you're afraid of getting hurt or because you're projecting your experiences onto somebody that had nothing to do with it. So, dude, at Victorium, you are so bad. Well, Willie, you got to do the right thing. And you just have to be honest with, you just have to find the right person and be willing to do it. And, ask them to get tested. There's nothing wrong with that. They don't want to do it. Don't go out with them. It's not a big deal. And I wouldn't think negatively. Look, one approach I would tell people is typically when you're not looking for something or when you least expect it in the least expected way, that's usually how things will happen. That's typically how it is. So usually when you don't care about being in a relationship anymore, or you end up talking to somebody that you didn't know that's what you were looking for in the first place. You just randomly talk to somebody. That's not somebody that you maybe were looking for or interested in. And then all of a sudden, holy cow, like this is somebody that I really care about and that I connect with. And you didn't go in with an agenda. And that's a lot of times that's the best way because you don't have any pressure. Serendipity is fantastic. It doesn't happen with everybody, but there are times when, you'll just meet somebody at random and you'll hit it off and you'll be like, man, you know what? I really like this girl. I really do. I have a connection with them, and you start talking. And the next thing you know, wow, you really like this person. You start falling for them, and then it goes on from there. And it's more natural and it feels better because you didn't come in with this pressure of like going to meet somebody online or somebody that a friend hooked me up with, and then you're going to be on a date, and then you start overthinking things too much. When you meet somebody organically, especially through a conversation that's spontaneous, and you get to know them that way, there's no guards up. You're not trying to impress anybody necessarily. And they reveal themselves in a very natural way. And you can kind of start seeing the type of person that they are. And if they're not somebody you date, no big deal. They're just some random person that you met that you're having a cool conversation with. They might end up being your new best friend. They may end up being, just a random person that you talked to that day. And it was like, hey, that was cool. Whatever. It could be something as simple as that. It may end up being your soulmate and the person that you end up spending the rest of your life with. I don't know. So, and hey, that happens. That happens. Sometimes I'm sorry to hear that, Willie. And it can be tough. Those things are tough. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have a good family. You guys know my father. He's been on the streams, on the gaming streams before. He was a little bit upset that we played Helldivers on Friday. He called my uncle up and he was like, they booted us. They booted us, Milton. We've been excommunicado. I just wanted to play Helldivers, man. Like, I only play that game on stream and I really love it. Oh man. And he's, and it's terrible. It's oh, if you could hear, see, I gotta, the first time that I decided to switch a Fortnite stream to like Helldivers, I remember, I should have like recorded it. I should have recorded it because I like walk in, I tell my dad like, hey, later tonight, not gonna play Fortnite. We're gonna play some Helldivers. You gotta play Zeltroid. You really do. You gotta get it. I'll play with you. I'll do more streams. My dad will get mad. We got a gaming laptop we can give him. Like, send some super chats. We'll buy it for him. He's got the laptop. We'll get the game for him. He can get it too. I mean, there's nothing stopping him. So if you want to see that game, would be fun to watch him play, because I think the thing is that now I'm on a tangent. Who cares? We've covered a lot of ground here, and we can move. Look, Helldivers is a perfect tangent to Xbox and everything that's been going on. The drama, the woke drama that's been going on with these. The F team does need to come. And actually, you know what? See, now we've reached the part of the show. I only have 30 minutes left where I can be completely distracted and we can go on freaking tangents. And that is awesome because we have made it through the brunt here. So let's see. We always have things to show. So you know that we played Ready or Not for a few weeks there. We had the F team going on, which was my younger brother, Commander, Epic Mike, and Disbrew. I got to get the boys back in town. They've been playing a lot of Helldivers too. Everybody's playing Helldivers. Helldivers is the greatest game. Everybody loves it. That's what everybody's playing, so that's how it is. So Ready or Not was my obsession for a while. Love it. Got to download more mods. I need more levels. So the Mark 18 that I built, let's talk games like Jay. The Mark 18 that I built was partially inspired because of Ready or Not. I was never into the short barreled AR, but that game was like, man, there's a mood. It just gives a vibe, man. There's just a vibe to the Mark 18. It's just a badass looking gun. The quad rail, the proportions of it. It's a great looking firearm. Now I'm going into this is the dude space. So, I got the helmet, and then of course you've got to start equipping. So finally I've got, I've told you guys that I was going to break it out. It's a little bit of a hodgepodge because what happens when you start getting into gun stuff over the years is that the more that you learn, you're overwhelmed with knowledge. So now Zeltroid, I will get to the point with the 308 that you should buy. So it depends on how much you want to spend. Obviously, you do have a SCAR. So I'm hoping that your SCAR is not a SCAR 16. You actually have a real SCAR 17. But I have had an excellent experience with. Maybe you want to consider the the Palmetto State Armory Saber that I bought, the M110A1 clone that they've got. It's been extremely reliable for me. I've only fired a couple of hundred rounds through it. 308 is extremely expensive. On the low end, it's like 65, 70 cents a round for like range ammo, and anything else, you're talking to like $1 to $2 per round if you're getting into like really specialized, ammunition, for precision or hunting. So it's a real SCAR. So yeah, I think that's a great gun. I think if you want to go even cooler, because the M110A1 is a sweet gun, it's got a great vibe to it, but it is fairly new. It's only just being adopted in the military as a DMR. But I've seen some great reviews of it. I've not stretched the legs out on it yet. I've been in short range, 25 yards. So yeah, Jackal would be cool. I think the Jackal's a pretty sweet gun. It's a pretty good looking gun. It's got some flaws that they need to deal with. It becomes very front heavy because it's a piston driven gun, and it's got a monolithic upper receiver, which is great for zeroing optics and sighting devices. Lasers. If you've got laser sights, if you've got forward mounted optics, things like that. Monolithic upper is great. What I mean by that is that an AR-15, typically, when you look at it, it's going to have a rail. Let's just bring up the Saber, the M110A1, just so that we can explain this stuff. So here we go. So typically you're going to have like this front rail section here. You can see that this is not attached to the receiver. So when you say that you have a monolithic upper receiver, it means that the front rail and the receiver itself are all one piece. So the advantage that gives you is, because this is a rail that is attached to the barrel nut or some other system, depending on the firearm, to that, it is possible that it can shift a little bit. You drop it, you're in combat, shit happens. After a while, you didn't Loctite it down correctly. The system that it uses to cinch on there is not that great. They've gotten better ones over the years. Maybe you took it off to try to clean the barrel or to get to the gas system, the gas port and all that stuff, and try to clean it out, or you're doing maintenance and you put it back on, you didn't put it on straight. Now, if you've got optics on it, they're not zeroed anymore. So having a one piece, you can never remove it. So it's always going to be zeroed, essentially, unless you're removing the barrel. So that's a good thing about the Jackal. So yes, the M110 is cool. I actually think that the cooler one, especially for you, is just the regular M110 that Palmetto State Armory sells. So I personally think that this is cooler. A lot of guys have done videos on them because it's awesome, but it's freaking cool. This is, basically their M110, which was, kind of a designated marksman rifle during the War on Terror. It kind of fell a little bit to the wayside, and we got, things like the Mark 12 that came along. You can go that route too if you want. Now, those are not, the M110 is going to be, this is a 308. If you go the Mark 12 is a 5.56. So that's going to be a little bit different. So you can go the Mark 12 route here, which, this has got a pretty sweet vibe. You can't go wrong with this, but this is if you're 5.56. And for everyone out there, if you just buy the uppers can be shipped to your door. You don't have to go through a background check. It's the bottom of the rifle here on an AR-15 that's serialized. So this is the portion that is the gun. So you buy this is what you get a background check with. You can buy one of these, just one, and then you can buy an infinite amount of these and just attach them and use them interchangeably, which is actually a really good idea. That's actually what U.S. SOCOM did during the GWOT, the War on Terror. They basically give guys the Mark 18. You have your regular M4A1 14.5-inch upper. So that's your go-to rifle for everything, long and short range, do it all, general purpose. But if you're doing exclusively CQB, you switch that upper to the Mark 18 upper, and now you've got that 10.3-inch close quarters, handy upper receiver. And you can put a suppressor on it, and it'll be basically the same length as that M4 with just its regular barrel on. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I would say it would work. So that's a good one. So I think the regular M110 is probably a cooler one. The A1 is sweet if you want them. They've been reliable. I've seen some crazy accuracy tests of my rifle, the M10, the 110A1 with a 16-inch barrel. And honestly, unlike a lot of the other sabers, it's basically just a regular PSA AR-10. Like it really is just a PSA AR-10 with, you know, a slightly nicer bolt carrier group and spring set. The saber lower, which is nicer. It has like it's got the trigger guard and everything, but it's not got any crazy. You know, it doesn't have like a cold hammer forged barrel or anything like that, which I would love, but that's how they were able to keep the cost on that one down versus, you know, some of the others. If they put like an FN barrel or something in there, I'm sure it would have been like $1,600, but which my opinion would have still been a good price for what you're getting in that firearm, but we'll see. It's a gun that I'm not going to shoot as often because it's kind of a pretty gun. I'm not gonna lie, I like how it looks. So maybe I need like a general purpose AR-10 that I'm not going to care about and that can beat up. I don't know, but it's a fun gun to shoot. It's got stout recoil, so you know, be prepared for that. With any 308, really, the SCAR is pretty soft shooting. I've seen people shoot it full auto, and it's pretty crazy how well it shoots. But you know, it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. So yeah, I would totally recommend it. Ammo is expensive. Oh yeah, it'll be great, man. Like just have me out there. I'll go. I'll bring the drones. We'll have a good time. We can do a lot of crazy stuff. You know, the way that I've equipped, and now, you know, I've kind of foregone that whole upper thing. I just said, you know, I have 80% AR, so I might as well just have multiple and finish up the parts. So you have different setups for different situations too. Like I said, the go-to for most people nowadays, if you're doing like a general purpose go-to kind of be able to do everything rifle, you're going to get a 16-inch, which is the shortest that you can get without getting a tack stamped, or you're going to get a pin and weld 14.5. So that means that you're going to get a rifle with a 14.5-inch barrel with a muzzle device, you know, a brake, a compensator, a flash hider, whatever. That is going to be permanently installed to that barrel, making it then overall length of 16 inches or more. So you're going to choose one of those two. You're going to mount an LPVO most likely onto it, a low-powered variable optic, and I would recommend an offset red dot as well. Because LPVOs, now what makes LPVOs cool, but they're jacks of all trade and masters of none, is that they go from 1x to magnified. So meaning, if for those of you that don't know, when you look down a gun with a scope, most scopes are like, even the lowest level of power is magnified. So if you're trying to handle things that are kind of close to you, it can be really difficult because you're zoomed in and you're trying to look for your target while being zoomed in. So you can alleviate this by having a red dot offset. That's another thing you can do. You can do an SPR, a special purpose rifle. So a little bit longer barrel, regular scope, a 2 to 10 or 3 to 12 or whatever, 4 to 16, 18. There's a ton of them out there. Then you can do that offset for close range. That's meant more to be like a DMR, designated marksman rifle, baby sniper rifle, that kind of thing. A GPR is supposed to be generally good at everything. So you do have 1X. You can technically pull that scope all the way down to 1X and use it kind of like a red dot. You're adding a lot of weight. It's not as durable. And the eye box is never as good. You're going to be kind of like, you really got to be looking down unless you're paying like $1,700 for an LPVO, or upwards of $2,000 if you want something like a VCOG that's actually, you know, can stand up like a tank. A VCOG or an LCAN, those are like $2,000 optics because they're ruggedized and military. All these other ones, they're going to get owned as soon as you drop it, most likely. Even the Knight's Armament, not Knight's Armament, Night Force may get owned, depending on which one it is. So those are your trade-offs with an LPVO. So you want to have backups. Now, one configuration that I have seen lately that I have been fascinated by, and I got to give, I believe his name is Jeff Gerwich. on this. He's a former Green Beret, fought in the War on Terror. Modern Tactical Shooting is his YouTube channel. Fantastic guy. Really love this guy. He just pretty much tells it like it is. He does competition shooting, did competition shooting while he was in the Army. And in between his deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, I believe he did 5 tours total, 2 in Iraq and 3 in Afghanistan, I believe, over the course of the War on Terror. And he really brought competition shooting to the operators and to the Army. And a lot of the techniques that competition shooters use to make themselves faster, to shoot more accurately, were adopted by Special Forces. And some of the techniques that Special Forces came from were also integrated with competition shooting. And so that's kind of where the offset red dot started, with the LPVO or with a magnified optic. It came from competition shooters who are like, well, we got to sometimes shoot targets that are at longer ranges, and we want to do it at speed. So yeah, I can shoot 100 yards with a red dot or 50 yards, but can I do it really fast and accurately and hit that A zone for maximum points? So, you started seeing LPVOs being used. Then they started offsetting the red dot so you can quickly transition and keep that. Then you can keep your scope at like 3x, have your red dot, which is always at 0 power or 1 power or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, FPS Russia did kill himself multiple times. And then, it's easy for you to transition. So traditionally you put your primary optic or your magnified optic center line on your gun. So that means, on top. So let's, looking for a photo here. So yeah, you'll usually mount your optic on top, your magnified optic, and then you can see this has offset iron sights here. So they're canted at 45 degrees so that you can use the iron sight. This is set up for right hand, so I'm a lefty, so mine would be canted the other side. So, but Jeff Gerwich, and this is great because I've been seeing more lefties in bigger YouTube channels lately, and it's great for me because lefties, we always have a disability when it comes to shooting. There are some guns that we outright can't shoot left-handed. There are others that are just more painful. You're going to eat some brass all the time. You're going to eat gas all the time. You're not going to eat the other word that rhymes with those two for sure. If maybe that's your thing, it's not mine. I'm just bad. I'm bad. So yeah, this is our gun nerd talk here. But one configuration that I've seen that Jeff brought up was, what if you put your 1 power optic in the middle? So what if you put the red dot in the middle? Because most of your shots are going to be at shorter ranges. Let's be honest. Even in many defensive situations, like where you guys live, PID is extremely important. And what I mean by PID, and my military guys may know what PID is. When you're dealing with a situation, PID is probably the most important thing, which means positive identification of the target. So whether you are at home in your house and you hear a bump in the night, you got to make sure that it is not your spouse or one of your children or your dog or cat that made some noise that freaked you out. You have to positively identify that there is a threat. First of all, magnified optic allows you to do that in a lot of cases. So that's why you'd want some zoom too. But we also live in a lot of situations where you can't just, unless you have massive property that you have no trespassing, maybe you can get away with shooting somebody on your property in an extended range. Possibly. I wouldn't advise doing that. I really wouldn't advise doing that, especially in certain parts of this country. So you're going to have to get up close and you're going to have to identify the target. Even at normal defensive ranges, it can be difficult. So you want a magnified optic, or you want to increase your accuracy. A lot of times the military is putting LPVOs on rifles, not to increase the effective range of that system, but to increase the accuracy at range. So, if I've got a red dot, sure, I can hit at 100 yards, but if I can zoom in like 3x, it's going to make it that much easier to bullseye that target. So let's take our magnified optic, which we're not probably going to use as often, let's be honest, because we live in neighborhoods. We live in places where the sight lines are going to be a little bit shorter. So you're probably going to use a red dot. Maybe you're going to be indoors. But if you do need to reach out and take a longer shot, Now you've got an optic like a prism sight that's like a 3x or a 5x, and you can do that and you can offset it. Now, the advantage of that, you can use a magnifier as well. You can do a flip magnifier. A lot of people have that. My Mark 18 has a magnifier. The problem is that usually a red dot has just a dot. That's it. It doesn't have a more advanced reticle that has bullet dropped, compensation, wind, and all that stuff. Whereas something like a prism optic may have that. So now you've got your red dot for quick acquisition, close range shots. You've got an offset prism on one side. Oh, and by the way, now you can co-witness your iron sights through that red dot, and you actually have 3 means of sighting. Triple redundancy. So you lose your long range one, doesn't matter. You still have a red dot. The red dot dies. You still have iron sights. If you lose iron sights at that point, you're really having a bad day, or you suck at life because you've dropped that rifle so many times that all of your ways of aiming are done, and you're just pointing down that thing and looking down the rail and praying that something's going to happen, and you're suppressing. So yeah, I will show this one actually. So is that a weapon or a phone in his hand? I will show you that. That's actually something that somebody sent me. Let's bring it up here. Okay. Well, oh man, that was declaration of memes. So yeah, somebody sent me this the other day, and I thought it was really awesome. So I would buy this for myself. I wouldn't even lie. I wouldn't even be afraid to deny it. But yes, buy this for the ladies in your life, men. Maybe she will let you own a gun. It looks like it takes Glock magazines. So that is pretty awesome. Yeah, if you guys want to, let's like pause to where it's at, and you can actually, yeah, there you go. So you got your weird sights here. It still has the chain is like your, I guess that's going to be your sling, and it takes Glock mags. It looks like it's got like an 8-inch barrel, so ballistically it's going to be better than the pistol. And you can shoulder it, so you're going to shoot accurately. It's like a perfect PDW that you can take anywhere, even non-permissive environments in a lot of cases. So this thing is sick. It's just totally sick. I think it's awesome, you guys. I think it's totally sick. So it is freaking sick as heck. It is sick as heck. So I think that, yeah, I think that you gotta check it out. I think you guys gotta check that out. We have to find out where we can get this thing. We have to find out where we can get this thing. We really do. And another one. Here's another Easter one. So this is another one to laugh. On Easter. Let's open this one separately here. Somebody. Thank goodness I have people that send me funny posts. Like between my brother and certain friends, like like between my brother and like everybody else, I get like the best memes. I love it. You guys are great. Oh my gosh. Man, I did not even get to the. It is pretty funny, isn't it, Carla? Oh, it did make me laugh. It really did make me laugh. What was this one? Oh, here's another good one. This has just become like the meme. This is the meme thing. Like we've done it. We've been on rants all day. I've gone on rants. We talked about guns. Now we're just having fun. This is what it's all about, isn't it? Right, guys? Just having that interaction. Whoa. Like we Damn it, I love this country. Johnny, we need this. We got to find this. This country so much. Ammo vending machine, baby. Ammo vending machine. Damn it, I love this country so much. That's just amazing. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff right there. Could you imagine, even if the ammo prices are still high, if I could just go to the corner vending machine and get me some 5.56 and 9 mil whenever I needed it, it would be freaking fantastic. And it looks like they have a decent selection there. So that is awesome. That is awesome stuff. I absolutely love that video. Yeah, I need to find it. If it does exist somewhere, I need to find it. I gotta start doing more vlogs and stuff like that. Again, I still have footage from Puerto Rico that I know that my dad is going crazy that I haven't edited in like the 4 months since I've been back almost. And he's like, this dude, like all this drone footage and all this stuff. You know how it is. You guys know how it is. Editing is crazy. Zeltrade says, that's what I'm saying. Honestly, I might make my own man cave, and whenever buddies are over, they can buy. They can just sell it to them at cost. Or if you're about to go to the range, like put your ammo in there in the boxes, and then like, hey, we're gonna go to the range, and then just make it all free for you, and then or you swipe like some card that makes it like free, and you never pay for it because you already have. So. Oh, G Webs. Thank you, G Webs, so much for stopping by. Let's see. We got a couple of other things here. So that was a lot of our gun talk here. I will bring up, I guess, just shortly here. Man, I lost that tweet that I was going to, and then somebody just sent me another meme. You know who you are. You send me a lot of memes. I'm not going to post all of them here. You're going to monopolize the show. Oh my gosh. Oh man. I was trying to look up Jeremy from the Cord Rings tweet from the other day, and then Elon commented on it with the head of Xbox's marketing and all this stuff, and moving towards moving towards. I've lost the plot, man. I think I'm done. I lost the plot here. I'm way too distracted now. With obviously, Xbox is. I'm just going to be brief about this. The woke stuff is. I'm sick and tired of it. It's so disappointing. When I started playing video games online, like I will never forget, that was the most epic Christmas of all time was when I got the Xbox in 2001. And got into GameCube too that year. And, I wasn't a PlayStation guy growing up. I didn't get a PlayStation until PS3. I was always a Nintendo guy. And so the Xbox was the first non-Nintendo console that I ever owned. And there was something at the time, there was a novelty to having an American-made console, actually. And there was something really cool about that. And Xbox's approach was completely different than Sony and Nintendo. It was targeting more of, more hardcore gaming. And you had, I remember I had Halo and Project Gotham Racing were the first two games that I got. And Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, I believe, was the other one. And, I played Rogue Squadron or was it Rebel Leader or Rogue Leader? I forgot which one was the one on GameCube. Rogue Squadron 2. Fantastic game, beautiful. The graphics are great. They still hold up nicely today. But, I remember playing that game and I was blown away. I was like, holy cow, like Nintendo's finally gone next gen. They've got discs. The visuals are incredible. Then I booted up the Xbox. This thing was huge. You guys saw the Duke controller. The Duke is a massive controller. I got it over there somewhere. It's a beast. It's a freaking beast. And it was like nothing anyone had ever seen before. It had an Ethernet port. It had a hard drive. Man, it was crazy. It was crazy stuff. And I just remember playing Halo for the first time and being absolutely blown away by that. And then playing co-op for the first time and being blown away by that split screen. And then playing 4-player split screen and being blown away by that because it wasn't just GoldenEye. You had 2 joysticks. You had maps that were incredible. You could drive vehicles. The visuals were, you know, on another level compared to GoldenEye. The controls were far superior. And getting modern FPS controls was incredible. And then getting Ethernet cables and a Switch and 4 Xboxes and playing with 16 people, inviting your buddies over, ordering pizzas on a weekend and playing from the morning until like night, and talking trash to one another, getting in each other's faces, getting angry at each other, almost beating the crap out of each other. And we're playing a video game and building that camaraderie, those LAN parties, being in person, being able to joke with your boys and not give a crap. And then Xbox Live came out. PCs already had online gaming. They already knew what this was all about. Then really broadband adoption started picking up, and we could really play online without much lag in those days. And Xbox Live came out, and that changed everything because you had voice comms right away, you know, which not every PC game had at the time. You had TeamSpeak, you had other things, but it wasn't necessarily like a feature that's, you know, built in and always used. It kind of became mainstream because of Xbox Live. It was a requirement. And again, that changed everything. And now everyone, all your friends that you had over, you still play with them. You play with them online. Now you can play with them anytime. You know, if you couldn't get everyone together, people moved away and all that stuff. If you went to college, you could do that. But those were the days, man. And everyone talked garbage. It was hyper competitive. People were staying up until midnight for these launches of Call of Duty, of Halo, of every other game that came out, of, you know, World of Warcraft and all these other games at the time were being huge. MMOs were hitting their golden age on the PC. And everybody, what was the common denominator? Everybody talked shit. Everybody was competitive. And you grew the hell up when you were playing these games. And you got exposed to the real world of people talking garbage and not being nice to you. And you know what you did? Whether you were a dude or a chick, you manned up and you told them to go fuck themselves. That's what you told them to do. You told them to go F themselves. You beat the crap out of them and you teabagged them right after you beat them. And you said, F you and your mother. You suck and you're done. And that is the culture of toxicity that we built in gaming early on. And it was good. And Microsoft was at the forefront of all of that. Microsoft was the toxic masculinity console. They were proud of it. It was the bro console. That's what it was all about. It was all about energy drinks, pizza, playing video games with the boys, and playing Dead or Alive 3. Or Soul Calibur. But you know, everybody that grew up in that era, and look, I know we've got ladies in the chat that grew up in that era, and you guys can hang just as much as any of us dudes. And you're not a bunch of, you know, weak-minded individuals that can't handle this thing, that appreciate attractive women in video games. Now that's where we've gotten now. We're at the point where it's not just white male characters that are being discriminated against. Now, beautiful women in general are being discriminated against in video games. You know, the whole Stellar Blade controversy, and even voice actresses that are attractive in real life that have feminine bodies with curves. Oh my goodness. God forbid that you see a woman that looks like a woman, that has long hair, that has a chest with breasts on it, that has a booty. Oh my goodness. My stars and garters, I cannot handle this. I need everyone to be androgynous. I cannot handle that. I've become a Puritan. These people have become the New Age Puritans. That's what they are. They can't see anything. They can't see anything at all. You know? Oh, yes. God forbid, Carla. God forbid that you see a beautiful woman in a video game. God forbid that you're an attractive woman that wants to create a character that looks like you in a video game. Oh my God. Shame on you. Shame on you. So now there we are. Shame on you if you're a dude. Shame on you if you're an attractive woman. But if you're unattractive or transgender, like that's it. It's all good. Like you can be totally included in all that. It is ridiculous. How far have we fallen here? Where have we gone here? Like what is what is the deal here? Why is this happening? It is happening because of jealous people. Ultimately, that is what it is. That there is a group of people that have forgotten that you play video games to play as characters that you're not, to experience things that you aren't. And in some cases, it is to create a character just like you. So in an era where we have so many games where you create your own character and you can make them look however you want, as crazy as it is, that we have infinite customization, people still, I don't see myself in a game. I don't play games to see myself. I don't watch movies to see myself. I have a damn mirror if I want to see myself. I live my life every day. I know how it is. I'm happy with my life. I don't want to play a video game that's my life. That's not why I do it. I play video games so that I can be a badass super soldier standing up against an alien horde that is trying to destroy humanity. Or I'm a mage that is summoning fireballs and throwing them at an unholy dragon that is trying to destroy my kingdom. I play video games so that I can be a badass martial artist who can rip somebody's head and their spine out of their body and throw it on the ground. I play video games so I can be some weird egg creature that's running over an obstacle course and falls off the map. I play video games so I can see Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, Solid Snake, the Master Chief, and Kratos join a squad and start kicking ass against the Easter Bunny in Fortnite. That's why I play video games. I play video games for that reason. There can be a... Carla's like, I'm sorry, I do not want to play a female character that looks like a dyke. See, I mean, everybody, this just gets riled up. Everybody gets heated up with this stuff right here. Everybody gets heated up. Baked Ewok, what's going on, my dude? So, this is absurd. So we live in an era, you can choose your characters. In other games, the narrative dictates that you do it, and the problem is, like, people wouldn't care as much if these people didn't telegraph their bullshit. Like, if you just created a game and, you just like, I'm going to make a female protagonist of color, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to make the game. And if the game is actually good and has a good storyline, maybe at first people will be like, is it going to be woke? Because this is the first check on the checklist of, could this become a woke game? Like, you've checked a couple of check boxes here, but then you play the game, it stands for itself, and you're like, you know what, this is good. But a lot of times you will see this and they can't help themselves, because a lot of these games or movies, sometimes they are exactly what we thought. Like, oh yeah, it's woke trash. Sometimes it's like, it's really not that bad. I believe some people said that Dungeons and Dragons movie with Christopher Pine wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. But nobody cared because everybody talked shit. All the actors talk crap. They injected their woke crap into stuff, and then they poison pilled their own product. And that's part of what it is. I bet a lot of these games would actually be decent. Some of them maybe. But they stack the deck against themselves by talking crap, and they destroy their own product in the crib. That's what they do. They smother their own product, and then they blame everybody else when it was them that they did not allow their product to stand alone. That shows a lack of confidence, and it's fear from their own side. That's really what it is, because they know that their side loves to bitch, moan, and whine all the time, and they can't handle children. Well, guess what? How do we handle children? You either put them in timeout or you ignore them, and that's what we do. I was like, I'm going to ignore these children. Like, you don't like my game? That's fine. It's not for you. And sometimes that's the way it is. If they want to make woke games and do all that, they can. They can do that. Don't take existing IPs and destroy them. Don't take mainstream games and destroy them. You can create your own indie title and make it however you want. You don't need to co-opt Batman and kill him off. You don't need to, hire a consulting firm like Sweet Baby Inc. to destroy your characters, destroy the story, and annihilate all trust that you had with your fan base to create a product when in the past you had a track record that you could do so. And you don't turn around ashamed of your past when you didn't do anything wrong. Microsoft has forgotten the core gamer, and this has been a serious problem with them since the Xbox One launch. And that was really when we started seeing things go awry with them. They had just gotten off of what was probably one of the most beloved consoles of all time, the Xbox 360. I think we can agree that the 360 was beloved, because even if at the end of the day, the 360 did not beat the PlayStation 3's total sales, it doesn't matter, because I can guarantee you people loved their 360s more than they loved their PS3s. And that is because I don't know of any other console in history that had so many hardware problems and people would buy them over and over. I don't care how many red rings of death you got. They were not going to stop you from playing Halo 2 or Halo 3. F that crap. That is how powerful Microsoft exclusives and the culture of online gaming was, was back then. That is what Microsoft created. The ultimate culture of gamers and the ultimate gaming community, more than Sony or Nintendo did at the time. Sony was scrambling to follow Microsoft's lead when it came to online gaming and building that culture of gaming and the quality of online games. The server infrastructure was second to none with Microsoft. So you had the company that was responsible for online gaming culture destroying itself and throwing it away. And ultimately, the problem is that the Xbox brand, for better or for worse, is associated with Microsoft. And that means, yes, they can spend the money on the infrastructure. They can spend the money to buy new IPs. They can do all that stuff. But Microsoft has always been a left-leaning company. That's just been the way it is. Ever since Bill Gates ran the company, that's the way that it's gone. And that culture has finally permeated Xbox, and we can see the changes that have been made. And it's still, it really sucks. It really sucks. That's where we're at. I still play my Xbox. I love that console. I play it all the time. I think the PS5's form factor is a shit show. It's not convenient to put anywhere. It's ugly. It's a great console. The controller's decent on it finally for a PlayStation. But I love the Xbox, and it's a shame of what they've done and the direction that they're going. And they're kind of becoming what we thought they were going to be. Oh yeah, and I got this scar on my hand. You can't really see it here, like the cat, like she took me out nasty. You can see that? Yeah. It was rolled over in bed and plopped on her head and then pulled it back and it went through her teeth. So popped it out there. So ultimately, look, Microsoft's going to pay the price for this. We already know. The business strategy that Microsoft has, seemingly moving away from hardware, the woke stuff, the squandering of franchises like Halo over the years, buying new IPs and not really using them properly. We're going to see, hopefully it doesn't take down the rest of Activision Blizzard that they bought. Activision Blizzard was kind of a mess to begin with. So we're hoping things could get better with Microsoft, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But it's going to come down to us as the gamers. Like, if this stuff bothers you, then don't buy the product. Starfield was another thing. I played Starfield. It was okay. The pronoun thing bothered the crap out of me. But again, that's another example of, if you didn't do that, like, more people would have played the game. They would have been like, the game's all right. Like, it's not bad. It's not the best Bethesda game. It's not the worst. That's just the way it is. Like, they bury themselves with this crap. Like, don't put pronouns. Don't do that stuff. Do like what other games do. Helldivers has just two physiques, and you can choose a voice, be a man or a woman, or you just have a random voice after they die. They don't inject the politics in there. Let people do that. A lot of other RPGs do that. They don't even, like Power World. Power World just has a female and a male face, and then you choose whatever body and all this stuff that you want. You don't use pronouns or anything like that. So that's where you are. Do things that way. If you don't need to have a specific main character in your game, give people a character creator and allow them to be as beautiful or as heinous as you want. You solve a lot of those problems. You don't have to put pronouns. Nobody cares. Let's be honest. And let's also be honest. In video games, like, how many of us play as characters of the opposite sex? That's what you do. Dudes play as chicks. Chicks play as dudes. However you want to do it, that's totally fine. That's how it's been. I don't understand why this has become a big deal for that side. We gamers have always been pretty flexible. We've always appreciated diverse characters. I mean, in movies and media, like see, that's also the problem. Like, we disregard all of the people that came before us, and we disrespect actual female or diverse characters and minority characters that have come out in the past with all this bullshit. Everybody acts like everything is everything is new under the sun, and it really isn't. We've had Blade, we've had Sigourney Weaver play, Ripley. We've had all that stuff. We've had Laura Croft. We have had fantastic characters that are not just white men with good storytelling, and they were great. Nobody made a big deal about it because of what they were. We loved them because they were great characters that lived in great worlds, that gave us great adventures and brought us a lot of happiness. And that's all we want. We just want to be entertained. We just want to be entertained. Hopefully that Skyrim won't be woke. That'd be bad. Oh, man. I've been on this RPG kick lately. I've been playing Destiny. I'm playing ESO right now, Elder Scrolls Online and all that stuff. And I'm just like, man, I miss Skyrim. Yeah, I'd be so upset if it was woke. All right, couple of housekeeping things to go through here. Next week, what is going on next week? Next week, I'm not 100% there will be a show because I am going to be a part of an event. I've not been able to talk about this until more recently, and it is the kind of commemorating the release of the Fallout series on Amazon. My good friend Eric, he is the owner and founder of Cheating Death Custom Guns. He makes fantastic guns, high powers and ARs and 1911s. Sells great holsters. Really goes with that the retro classic vibe. And for years now, he has created Fallout-inspired rifles. And so this year, he's got his newest rifle. I was able to shoot it. I can show you some video of that, actually. I'll bring it up on Instagram on this side. And I really loved it. It's a fantastic gun. It's a really soft shooter, 20-inch barrel, A1 profile. It's not this one here specifically. The one I shot was a little bit different. But we're going to have a range day. It's open to the public. It's going to be at Andy's gun range. You got the address there. I'll give you the time more specifically when we get there. Eric may have it on his Instagram account. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be there. Eric will be there. And I'm sure a lot of other people that were there that helped build the gun. Maybe Pete from Carolina Custom Foam will be there. He helped make one of the cases before. So it should be a lot of fun. Just come on down, stop by. If you want to say hello and you're in the Miami or Broward area, that should be great. Stay tuned on my social media accounts, and I will let you know when the exact time of that is. But it will be next Saturday, or this coming Saturday at Range. So I will have a show. But I'll be filming. I'll be doing some vlog stuff there. Depending on what the situation is, maybe I'll bring a couple of my own guns, the MP5 and the Mark 18. And if people want to shoot that, have something different with the more fun stuff. It's an MP5 22, people. Don't go crazy. I'm not a baller. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. I will be watching the Fallout TV series. It's all coming out at once, so that's going to make it difficult. I wanted to do retrospectives and all this stuff, do something a little different. I did not have the heart to do it for the Halo TV series. It was just too bad. I couldn't handle it. If Fallout looks like it has potential, it looks like it's well made. I hope it's good, but we'll see. We will see. I'm going to vlog. No, I'm not going to flog anybody. Just flog them. No, that's not going to happen. Well, thank you. This was an eclectic episode of Rolo's Rants. Next week, I'll talk about the National Red Flag Center. I didn't have a chance to go through that. We'll talk about this event. Hopefully, I'll film stuff and do a vlog based off of this event that I'll either premiere during next week's episode or I'll just post it there and give you guys a preview on Twitter as well. But you guys know where to find me. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Spread the word about what I'm doing here. There'll be gaming streams this week, probably Thursday and Friday again. The Saturday stream's probably not going to happen for now because I've been backloading all my streams and it's a lot. I got to have some personal time to spend, on myself and with other people. So we'll adjust that as things go. But Thursday and Friday, we'll probably stick around for the time being. And those will be at 6 p.m. Eastern time as usual. And it's going to be Fortnite and maybe Helldivers. If you guys want to contribute to the Old Man Pistolero Fund so that we can get him Helldivers, that will always be appreciated. I'll set up a Patreon too sometime, or you guys can send Rumble Rants or help us get monetized on Kick if you guys don't want to give the Google overlords more cash. We appreciate that, but that's never required. I'm here just doing the work because I enjoy hanging out with you guys every week. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate all of you. God bless all of you. Happy Easter. Don't forget some of the things that we talked about today. Don't be afraid of having faith. Don't be afraid of having faith. Let your heart be troubled. I know Willie was in the chat, Rebel Scum, I believe. I hope you find a little bit more positivity and that this helps you as well. To everybody else, thank you once again. God bless all of you and take care. That's all I got for you. One more thing for you. Never forget to wash behind your ears and get training. Bear Solutions, Haley Strategic, Cogwork. If you know, you know. Later, guys.